Well, if you're new, we have been in a series for the last 2 months going through the Gospel of Mark. And one of the themes that we've seen again and again, especially the last few weeks, is this reality that people continue to misunderstand who Jesus is and they continue to misunderstand his purposes. A part of what they do and a part of what we are so guilty of ourselves is we are always trying to project onto Jesus who we think he should be and who we think he is. We're often projecting onto Jesus the things that we think he should care about and the things that he should be for and against. And one of the things that causes us again and again to not fully understand who Jesus is and not fully understand his purposes is we far too easily lose sight of who we are created to be and what our purposes are. And our understanding and our framework for what that means, like who am I created to be, and what are my purposes, it comes all the way from the beginning. Page 1 of the Bible, Genesis chapter 1. And Genesis 1 tells us this incredible truth that God says of all the things in the universe that God spoke into existence, everything, the world, the heaven, the sun, the stars, all the creatures, the ocean, the trees, of everything God created, God chose to create humanity in his own image. Meaning we are made in the image of God, meaning we are made to reflect God back out into this world. That's what it means when you bear somebody's image, you reflect that back out into this world. And so somehow I am able to reflect God back out into this world. I image God. Somehow you do that as well. Somehow we do that collectively, male and female. We image God back out into this world. God created us in his image. But God reminds us in the very beginning as well is that we are created for a purpose, something greater than ourselves. And God gives humanity these 2 commands right away. He says, be fruitful and multiply and subdue the earth. And what God is making clear in that moment is his desire for us is to be a part of the work that he is doing in this world, that we are meant to be like God in this world. That's what he's calling us into. In the beginning, God created humanity, and now God is looking at humanity saying, now I want you to be a part of this. Now I want you to be a part of creation. He's inviting us into that gift. And God says, in the same way that I have cared for this earth, I've created it for you, now I want you to subdue it and rule it. And we hear those words, subdue and rule, and those have such negative connotations. That's not God's heart. God is saying, care for this world in the same way that I have been caring for it. Steward it, cultivate it, shepherd it. And so God tells us, I have purposes for you. You're created in my image to be like me in this world. Genesis 3 comes, and we see that Adam and Eve don't want to continue living out their purposes. They don't want to do what God is calling them to do. They don't want to continue walking as he's calling them into. They turn their backs on God, and sin comes into this world. And now the reality is, yes, we are still made in the image of God. That's how we're created. We still bear his image, but because of sin, that image is distorted. We can no longer perfectly image God back out into this world, right? We cannot perfectly give the love that God has given us back out into this world. We don't do that perfectly well. We're not able to perfectly give God's compassion, his mercy, his justice, his holiness back into this world. That image has been corrupted because of sin. And yet what is so incredible, even though that is true, sin has come into this world, it's corrupted our image, we're not perfectly able to do it, God still invites us to be part of the work that he is doing in this world. God still is desiring that we step into that he has something for us far greater than we can imagine. We see this from the very beginning of the Gospel of Mark. 2 months ago, when we started in Mark 1, we see Jesus begin to do this. He calls people to them. He says, come and follow me, and I will make you the fishers of men. And this is the invitation from Jesus to come and to be with him. Come and follow me. I think the verse is on. We have those verses, Jake, unless Claire is typing the keyboard now. Yeah. And that invitation from Jesus is twofold. It begins with come and follow me. What Jesus is saying is come and be formed by me. You don't need to be formed by the world. You don't need to be formed by the brokenness of this world, the evil, the suffering, the pain. That's not what's meant to form you. I am what's meant to form you. And Jesus recognizes that how that begins for us is to come and to follow Jesus, to be with him, to pay attention to him, to listen to his words, to seek to understand his teaching, to watch and to witness how he operates. He's modeling for us this. So Jesus says, come and follow me, because the more we follow Jesus, the more we spend time with him, the more we're going to be formed by him. And Jesus reminds us, because there is a purpose for you that's far greater than yourselves. I'm going to send you out. I'm going to have you go fish for men. In Mark chapter 3, Jesus then calls, of all the followers, all the crowd, Jesus calls 12 of them closer to himself. That number 12 is significant. If you are knowing the Old Testament, the nation of, I just lost my brain, the nation of Israel, God binded himself to this nation, this little tiny place, and God says, I'm going to be your God and you're going to be my people. And he looks at Israel and says, your purpose, Israel, is to reflect me back out into this world, to be a light for me in this world. That's what Israel was supposed to be, a light for God in this world. Israel was made up of 12 tribes. And so God says, this is your purpose. And Israel rejected those purposes. They didn't want to image God into this world. They didn't want to look distinct and different. In fact, they told God, we want to look like all the other nations. They rejected, they turned their backs on God again and again and again. They failed in God's hope and desire for them that they would be his image bearers in this world and be a light. So when Jesus calls 12, it is meant to be very symbolic and significant, because what Jesus is saying is, I am forming a new community with those same purposes to be my light in this world, to be part of bringing my kingdom here. Through this very small group of 12, I'm going to change the world. And so Jesus calls 12 towards him and gives them this same understanding. Come be with me, because I'm going to send you out. This morning, we're going to pick up the story in Mark chapter 6. And the time has come for these disciples to now go. Jesus is going to send them out. This is the first time he's going to send them, and he's going to send them without him. Like, he is sending the kids off to college. It's time for you to go. It's time for you to now step forward and live out in deeper and greater ways your purposes. See, Jesus has been intentionally spending more and more time with these 12. He wanted them to understand in such deep and significant ways who he was and what his kingdom looked like. And now Jesus says, it's time to go. So, Mark chapter 6, we're going to start in verse 7. It says, calling the 12 to him, he began to send them out 2 by 2 and gave them authority over impure spirits. These were his instructions. Take nothing for the journey except a staff, no bread, no bag, no money in your belts. Wear sandals, but not an extra shirt. Whenever you enter a house, stay there until you leave that town. And if any place will not welcome you or listen to you, leave that place and shake the dust off your feet as a testimony against them. They went out and preached that people should repent. They drove out many demons and anointed many sick people with oil and healed them. Jesus sends them out and he anoints them with this power, something far greater than their human capabilities could do. He gives them power to drive out demons. He gives them power to heal, to do these miracles. And the reason Jesus is doing this is twofold. Because the message that he wanted them to preach as they're going from town to town, village to village, the message he had for them was the same message that he began with. The king has come. The king is on this earth and he is bringing his kingdom with him. So repent, which means turn. Turn away from the kingdom of this world. Turn away from darkness and evil. Come into the light. That's the message Jesus wanted them to go out and to tell the people, the king is here. So turn towards him. And the reason he's given them this power is first, for the people that he is telling this to, for the people that are going to hear this message, he wanted them to get a picture of what this kingdom looks like. And as they are driving out demons, as they are healing the sick, as they are helping those who are suffering, as they are doing miracles, his light is breaking through and people are getting a picture. Oh, this is what it looks like when God's kingdom comes here on earth. Darkness is being driven out. Evil is being driven out. More and more of his holiness, his purity, his light, his love is entering into this world. The second thing, as they're going out and telling people about Jesus and all these things, he wanted to give them some authority so they had some backing to all their claims. So their ability to do this is giving them an audience with people and then helping people understand the truth of this. It says he sends them out 2 by 2. So they would not be alone. They're going off to college. These young bucks. He wanted to make sure that somebody else with them as they go out to do this thing. But also there was like a legal precedence for someone to be able to give a testimony about something. There had to be 2 witnesses. And so he sent them 2 by 2 because what they're going is they're telling everything about who Jesus is, everything that they've experienced, all the miracles, all the healings, everything that Jesus has done. They're going out and telling people that. So it's important for 2 people to say it because it's giving them authority of, oh, this is real and this is what's happening. So he sends them out with this power and then he gives them this very peculiar instructions. Don't take anything with you. No belt, no bag, no food. Basically, the clothes on your back and head out. And this was not for a few days. This would be months and months that they would be going from the towns and the villages. And what Jesus knows about us is the more we begin to believe we're self-sufficient, the more our dependency on God begins to dwindle. He has just given them this enormous power, right? They're going to do things that no human, driving out demons, doing these miracles. How quickly would they begin to feel like, oh, we've got this. Oh, we know what we're doing now. We have this. Look at our power. And the more we begin to focus on ourselves and what we have in front of us, the more our dependency on God begins to fall away. So God is saying, hey, I'm stripping you of everything. Yes, you have this power, but I want you to go and take nothing with you. Why? Because it's going to keep your hearts open and dependent on me. And not just that. Not only are you going to be dependent on me, you're going to go and you're going to be wholly dependent on the hospitality and the generosity of others. And that is such an important reality. Go. And now you are going to depend on others to care for you and to feed you. What did they have? Well, they had the power to heal. They had Jesus' message. They were going to go there to preach. Great. What do the other people have? Food. A bed for you to sleep in. A warm shower, maybe. I don't know the logistics of this time. But this is what God does to remind us that we're all at the same table. This is what flattens us all together. We're all equally dependent on God. And yes, I can bring this to the table, but you're bringing this to the table. This is what centers us. This is what aligns us. We are all equally dependent on God. We bring what we have, and that's how we operate together. That grows our mutual dependency on one another and God. For years and years and years, I led this mission trip down to Ensenada to build homes. And it was always just such an amazing, incredible experience for us. And when we would go down to Ensenada and we would build these homes, we would kind of take apart what they were currently living in. And often it was tents and tarps and maybe some kind of plywood laying around. And we would pull all that off and we would build this like 12 by 12 foot, they call them birdhouses, like structures that had a loft in it. And one of the things that they told us, the mission organization we worked with, they say when you go there, and we would spend all day Saturday building, we had pre-built a lot of things so we could assemble it in one day. He goes, when you are down there on Saturday building, the family is going to provide lunch for you. It is very important for you to sit and eat that lunch. Now, if you know me, a bit of a germaphobe, sensitive system, very careful what I eat. I'm like, ugh. But here's the why. Yes, you guys may have some money and you can buy some wood and some nails and some hammers. Yes, you can bring some food and a propane tank for them. Yes, we bring them some Spanish Bibles. That's what you can bring. Yes, you maybe can take a day off of work to come here and do this. Here's what they're bringing. They're going to feed you. And for them, this would be 1 to 2 weeks worth of wages for them to get enough chicken and rice and beans and salsa and all the things. Because they weren't just feeding the 20 of us. Others in the neighborhood would come and they would eat as well. And it was the reminder that this is what levels us. Yes, we're coming and we can bring this thing, but they're bringing something to the table as well. That's how they are blessing you as we're trying to bless them. This is the heart that Jesus wanted for his disciples. Go, but take nothing with you, because now you are dependent on others' hospitality and generosity to you. And so they go, and they spend months doing this work that Jesus calls them to. And after a few months, they come back. We're going to pick up the story in verse 30. It says, the apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to him all they had done and taught. Then, because so many people were coming and going that they did not even have a chance to eat, he said to them, come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest. So they went away by themselves in a boat to a solitary place. But many who saw them leaving recognized them and ran on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them. The disciples come back. And they're excited. They're telling Jesus everything that has happened. And the crowds were so much, which is an indication that because of the faithfulness of the disciples, the kingdom is growing. As Jesus has sent them out to be a light, to help teach people about his kingdom, to invite people into his kingdom, the kingdom is growing and expanding. We're going to find out in a minute that the number of people in this crowd, they said there were 5,000 men. Back then, they would just count the men for some reason. So meaning with women and children, this would be 10, 12, 15, 18, 20,000 people. That's how big this crowd is. So Jesus is like, let's get in the boat. Let's go off to the other side. And they start making their way, and all these crowds see it, and they go running ahead. I'm going to use my second Beatles reference in 2 weeks, right? This is like the Beatles. They know where they're going. They know where their hotel is. They're going to meet them there before they arrive. So the crowds beat them there. In verse 34, it says, when Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many things. By this time, it was late in the day, so the disciples came to him. This is a remote place, they said, and it's already very late. Send the people away so they can go to the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat. But he answered them, you give them something to eat. The crowds had formed. Jesus sees the crowds, and it said he had compassion on them. And out of his compassion, he is recognizing that this is a community of people. This is a crowd. They are like sheep without a shepherd. They have now heard about Jesus because of the work of the disciples. They are now coming to see, who is this king? Who is this Messiah? Who is this miracle worker that was able to anoint these guys to go out and do all the things they've done? And Jesus looks at them and recognizes, oh, they are like sheep without a shepherd. They have no spiritual guidance or protection. So he begins to teach them. He has compassion on this community because they're coming to him and they're desperate for hope. And so Jesus begins meeting their most deepest need. He begins feeding them spiritually and begins teaching. Apparently, Jesus goes on for a while because the disciples are like, hey, it's getting late, and they're in a remote town, and now there's 12, 15, 18,000 people, and where are they going to eat? So they kind of interrupt Jesus. This would be like if I just went after it one Sunday, and now it's like 12:45, and I'm still preaching, and then Jack comes up to me and is like, hey, buddy, you need to land the plane because everyone's getting really hungry. Like, that's what's going on. They're like, hey, Jesus, this is all great. Love your teaching, but maybe let's send these people away because they're hungry and they're going to need something to eat. See, the disciples were focused on their immediate needs. Jesus was feeding them spiritually. The disciples recognized, okay, there's something more immediate going on. And so they go to Jesus, and Jesus responds and says, honestly, one of my favorite things that Jesus says, and here's how I always hear it, which is very convicting. You do it. You go feed them. Why are you coming to me and bringing nothing to the table? Don't you remember where you just were? You've been healing. You've been performing miracles. You've been telling people about the kingdom. And the minute you see this need, your instinct is just to come running to me saying, Jesus, what should we do? You go feed them. But he answered, you give them something to eat. They said to him, that would take more than half a year's wages. Are we to go and spend that much on bread and give it to them to eat? How many loaves do you have? He asked. Go and see. When they found out, They said 5 and 2 fish. Jesus pushes back on them and says, what are you bringing to the table? What do you have? They don't even know what they have. Jesus goes, how much food do you have? He's saying, I've blessed you. I've equipped you. You have everything you need to begin meeting the needs of the people. Bring to the table what you have. Bring to the table what I blessed you with. And it turns out they had some fish and some bread. Jesus is like, great. Bring that to the table, what you can, and trust me with the rest. Yes, come to me. But don't forget that I've blessed you, I've called you, I've equipped you. You have purposes greater than yourself. Bring what you have to the table, and yes, trust me with the rest. And it says that Jesus took this food and he blessed it, and they gave this food away. And not only did everyone eat, it says everyone ate and were satisfied, and they had leftover food. See, this is the reality of what our purposes look like in this world. There are 2 layers to this. The first is what the disciples are seeing and noticing, right? They're seeing there's tangible needs in front of us. There's immediate needs in front of us. And absolutely, when we see the immediate needs in front of us, we should be going to Jesus in prayer. But what Jesus is showing us is that when we go to Jesus in prayer, many times he's going to look at us and say, great, go do something. You've been blessed. You've been called. You've been equipped. And for many of us, that first layer that some of us need to step into is begin by paying attention to the needs around you. Do you know the needs of some of the people in this room? The only way you can do that is if you are living connected to them, if you're getting to know people, if you're getting to hear their stories, you begin to understand, oh, here's some of the needs in this room. Some of it may be something tangible like bread or food, but some of it sometimes is compassion, it's care, it's prayer, it's speaking hope into somebody's life who's struggling. That's what we can bring to the table. Are we paying attention to the needs in this room? Are we paying attention to the needs outside this room? Are we paying attention to the needs of those in our city? Are we paying attention to the reality of the pain and the brokenness in this world? Are we paying attention? The disciples were. They recognized the people are hungry. That's great. And they moved towards Jesus. That's great. And Jesus says, great. Now go do something about it. Be part of bringing hope and care and meeting the needs of the people in front of you. For some of us, that's that step we got to take. But then Jesus shows us this other layer. Because what he was focused on was something far deeper, far more important than just our immediate needs. Jesus was concerned about their eternal needs. His desire was to spiritually feed the people, to make sure they understood who he was and what his kingdom looked like, to make sure they understood that in this world of pain and suffering and death, those things do not have to have the last say in our story, because he is offering us hope when he gives his life for ours. And for some of us, the step that we can take well, which is amazing, is we're really good at serving and we're really good at giving and we're really good at caring for people and praying for them. That's amazing. But maybe for you, it's that other step of, man, am I paying attention to the real spiritual needs around me? People desperate for hope? And the mistake we can make, especially in Los Angeles and Playa Vista and Westchester and all the places we live, is we look around, Marina Del Rey, we look around and people seem really well off. Not a lot of people around us that probably need some bread. And what we can do then is we disconnect our hearts and our minds from recognizing there's a far greater and deeper needs that my neighbors or the people around me might have. That a part of what God has done is he has brought you into spaces where only you are. The places you live, the places you work, if you have kids, schools, social, all those things. There are places and people that God has put you in, so that you can be a part of bringing his light into this world. And I think sometimes we overcomplicate this. And we're like, man, I can't tell people about Jesus because I don't fully understand, the Trinity, what is the Holy Spirit? I got to figure that out. And Amen now mentioned Genesis, and there's something about Israel and tribes, and let me get that figured out before I tell anybody about Jesus. And oh my gosh, and I got to figure out now what all this looks like. And we can overcomplicate it. And yet, if we're honest, the thing that's impacted me most in my life, and I'm guessing the thing that's impacted many of you, is when people have shared with you honestly about the impact that Jesus has had on their own life. That the story we tell doesn't have to be Genesis 15. The story we tell is, this is why I show up on a Sunday morning in a strange, dark room. This is why I choose to serve and to give and to care. This is why I go to a men's night or a Sunday night dinner. This is why I orient my life, is because this is what's happened to me. This is how he's transformed me. And I have a long way to go still, but this is why I have hope even when it's hard. I think sometimes we overcomplicate this and we forget that what people want to hear is authentically, what is God doing in your life? Why does he matter to you? Invite the worship team back up. And so the invitation that God gives us is to be a part of bringing his kingdom into this world. Why? Because he created us in his image and he created us for a purpose. And for some of us this morning, it is going to be that continued step of paying attention to the needs around you and recognizing, okay, God, what have you already equipped? What can I bring to the table? And for others of us, there's going to be the opportunity to begin helping open people's eyes that in the midst of pain and darkness and everything going on in the world and in the news, there is hope because the King came to this earth. That he leaves heaven and comes to this earth because of his great love for us. And out of that love, the overflow of that love was on the cross. When Jesus says, I am willingly going to the cross to give my life so that you can have life. That's the invitation. And this morning, we have several ways to respond. The worship team's gonna worship for a few more minutes. During our time of worship, if you want to stand and sing, stand and sing. If you want to sit and contemplate, sit and contemplate. If you want to kneel, kneel. And this morning, we also have the opportunity to take communion. Communion is this reminder of what Jesus does on the cross. And he tells his disciples, he gathered them one last time on that one last night that they would all be physically together. He's been trying to prepare them to go out even after what's about to happen. But he pauses and they share a meal. And he says, when things get difficult, when things get hard, when you start losing hope, remember this meal because this meal represents life. He says, the bread is going to represent my body, which is going to be broken, but it's going to be broken for you. And the cup is going to represent my blood spilled. And it's going to be spilled, but it's spilled for you. Because that blood covers everything in our life. And so if you want to take that step and respond with communion, whenever you feel ready, you can get up and you can take the elements. The bread is there, the cup is there. We're not going to take it all together. So whenever you feel led, if you feel led, you can do that. In that white jar are the gluten-free crackers. For the gluten-free folks, you can thank my wife for always being one step ahead. If you have children that are in kids ministry right now and you want to take communion with them, Zoe and the team are ready and they'll hand off, give, shove, lovingly your child to you. So if you want to take it with your family, feel free. But this time, the next 5-6 minutes we have are an opportunity in the midst of a busy week for you to stop, pause, pay attention to the God of the universe who seeks to know you because he loves you. Amen?